Thank you so much for joining us here on Weather Nation. I'm meteorologist Kit Cloninger. We're going to be joined now by meteorologist Tim Jones, who's out in the field in Lexington, Nebraska, out in Dawson County. But just last night, Tim, we did see some of that severe weather through the Tri-Cities, through most of Nebraska, and even lasting all the way into Oklahoma.
Yeah, and here in my area, Kit, and you know this area pretty darn well, just like I do, in central Nebraska, really was under the influence of one rotating supercell thunderstorm that had a couple tornado warnings, produced large hail and very strong winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. And it just kind of stayed to the west of Hastings and Grand Island. And we expected it to be a little more isolated last night. By contrast, tonight, Kit, we expect the severe threat to be a little more widespread.
Yeah, and we've got that on the board now as we've seen that enhanced threat now tier up just from what we saw last night. So we're seeing more of that hail threat off towards the west. Then it's going to transition overnight into a wind threat, right, Tim?
Yeah, without a doubt, Kit. And of course, initially, the first hour or two of storm development, which I expect to be off to my west, we'll initially see a little more of a tornado threat, especially in the Nebraska panhandle. And I think it'll go all the way to the east to about Highway 83, maybe Highway 183, where you're saying, Tim, I'm not from Nebraska. Where is Highway 83? Well, that is on a line north and south from North Platte down to McCook, Nebraska. And then if you go a little further east, and that Highway 183 is Elm Creek, Nebraska, along Interstate 80 down to Holdridge and Alma, almost to the Kansas border. So here in Nebraska, I use the highways quite a bit to kind of outline where that severe weather threat will be. There you can see that level 3, that enhanced risk in orange, surrounding that by a level 2 or 2 out of 5 on the threat scale for a slight risk. And of course, Ken, as we go through the evening, initially we talked about that initial tornado threat, but also the large hail, and that'll especially be in the Nebraska panhandle. And that's as these storms are a little more cellular until they congeal into a line, and then we pick up that wind threat.
Yeah, that's right. So once we get into the overnight hours, we could see, like you said, congealing into a line. Whenever that happens, we can still maintain that tornado threat as well as we get some bends in that line.
Yeah, and we call that a QLCS threat, a little more embedded storms in the leading edge of the storms that they get the quick spin up tornadoes. We're looking more at tornado potential in the out to my west that have the parent updraft that are associated with supercell type storms. So again, we don't want to overstate the tornado threat, but again, it's not zero. A tornado or two, maybe 3 at the maximum seems possible tonight. But what we're really looking at a little more widespread, Kit, is the hail and the wind. And let's bring those probabilities in if we can. If we look at the wind and the hail, and of course, here's a look at the forecast. You can see how the storms initially start out in the southern sections of the Nebraska panhandle. They're cellular. They're more isolated. Those storms rotate. They produce very large hail, gusty winds, and tornadoes. Then look how they start to congeal as they get from about North Platte down to McCook, all the way into Kansas. And with that, as we get into that more congealing of the storms and more linear, turning into an MCS, that will become more of a heavy rain. And I want to point that out as well. Heavy rain, localized flash flooding, and of course that wind threat with 60-mile-per-hour winds or stronger.
Our field meteorologist Tim Jones out in Lexington, Nebraska. We'll be checking back in with you throughout this afternoon as these storms unfold. I want to take you out to the visible satellite now, though. As we see across Nebraska, we've got a lot of cloud cover right now, so that's going to inhibit a bit of development for us. But we still see some of that clearing out there towards the panhandle, like we were saying. That's where we're going to see things get started into the afternoon and evening hours. Taking a look at the radar up towards the Black Hills of South Dakota, around the I-90 corridor, we see one lone severe thunderstorm warning just coming off of the Sturgis area. So, of course, with those details from the National Weather Service, we're seeing the potential for winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, possibly some hail embedded with there as well. So we'll have to keep our eyes on any further developments on this one. Taking a look at the national picture, though, we do see a couple other complexes of thunderstorms, especially here into the Arkansas area. This is where we saw the line from last night start to weaken, but we did still see some severe with this as we headed into the morning, and we saw just a little bit of flash flooding there outside of the Newport area. So we'll have to keep our eyes open for that, but this isn't our only top weather headline. We're also talking about the heat that is developing across Texas and the Southwest. We've got some rain moving through the northeast and parts of upstate New York right now. We're looking at Watertown, New York, right off the coast of Lake Ontario. We've got that underlined here as well along the I-81 corridor. Some heavy rain showers moving through. Not anything severe, but still some pretty decent showers. And we see across most of New York State, we've got some of that rain moving in. Now, across central New York, moving to the east, around the I-81 corridor, like I said, it's moving out of western New York, where we've seen a little bit of clearing, but a few more thunderstorms are coming through as well. So as we follow this towards the southwest, we see around western Pennsylvania into Ohio, a few thunderstorms around there as well. So let's put on the lightning tracker here. Really don't see a whole lot, so I guess I can't really call them thunderstorms. We've only seen one pop of lightning in this very wide view, only a few pops here there, but we are going to see the chance for severe weather around this area today. We've got that marginal threat along that Ohio River Valley into most of Ohio as well, into western Pennsylvania. We'll have to keep an eye on any developments with those thunderstorms, but fortunately, they're not really all that intense right now. But let's take a look a little farther south into Florida, where we see very heavy rain across the Keys especially, and then into South Florida, Fort Lauderdale as well, under a flash flood warning right now in Broward County. So that's going to continue until 5:15 this evening. So very heavy rain after we've seen a lot of rain, almost 1.5 feet of water in just the last 7 days or more. So a lot of rain, and we really just need a break from it. But as we get into the summertime across Florida, we tend to see just daytime thunderstorms here popping up just from the heating of the day. Sometimes you get what's called a sea breeze front, where you have the winds coming in off of the Atlantic or off the Gulf, and sometimes they can converge right here in the middle and start a lot of heavy convection in there as well. So we get a lot of rain here in Florida during the summertime, but South Florida could really use a break from that. Let's take a look here into Colorado, where we've got some heavy thunderstorms just starting to form off the high plains. Sometimes we get some of that upslope flow where it's moving up the plains, and then it starts to initiate some of those thunderstorms. That's the lifting mechanism, just the geography of the area. So here in El Paso County, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning until 2 o'clock this afternoon for the potential of 1-inch diameter hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds with this. This is just outside of the Colorado Springs area, but the Springs really aren't under the immediate threat of this warning. But you might still see some lightning from that. So let's take a look at the lightning count. It hasn't been a lot of lightning, fortunately, but as these thunderstorms grow, they start to accumulate more ice in the upper parts of the atmosphere in the column of that thunderstorm. And whenever you get the ice above the liquid water below, that creates a charge difference, and that's why we get the lightning. If you, I'll push up my glasses since I'm having the nerdy bit here, but that's the fun thing about thunderstorms, of why they get their lightning. Off towards the north here in Niobrara County, Wyoming, we have a severe thunderstorm warning here as well. The 1.5-inch diameter hail is the primary threat with that. We'll keep an eye on the severe developments here over the next several hours this afternoon, but even in the days to come, we've got more severe on the way. Take a look at this video out of Nebraska from Monday. We're going to see more pictures like this in the days to come. Well, up in Burlington, Vermont, a few showers are on the way, so the Church Street Marketplace might be a little bit less crowded here within the next half hour. If you were thinking about going out, maybe bring the umbrella with you. Hopefully some of these people have that as well. As we see around parts of New York State, some rain coming towards the Vermont area. And then also Nashville, don't want to forget you. We're looking at the chance for some thunderstorms in your area in the days to come. So taking a look on Viper radar, we're looking across the northeast right now. Pennsylvania, we've got some more thunderstorm activity moving into western PA, but across New York State, not really any thunderstorm activity here, but some light showers. Let's actually zoom in there across the Champlain Valley, where we see Burlington, Vermont, a little bit of that rain activity moving in shortly. So like I said, might be looking at some showers coming in right there along the I-89 corridor, eventually crossing over, like I said, the Champlain River Valley, around the I-87 corridor, even down to New York City. We're seeing a few showers moving through Yonkers, around that area as well. Out towards Scranton, Allentown, out to York, we've got some showers moving through. Baltimore, you're also seeing just light showers. It won't take long for these to clear out. In DC, I'll probably just see some light sprinkles. This is more the nuisance showers, the ones that you don't really need an umbrella for, you're kind of annoyed that you're getting a little bit wet, of course. Looking out towards the Ohio River Valley, we see a line of some thunderstorms getting started. Non-severe at this point, so that is some good news for us. But this is an area where we could see the potential for some severe thunderstorms later on into the afternoon and into the evening hours as well. So places like Pittsburgh, Columbus, Cincinnati, out to Louisville and Clarksville, the Lexington area could see an isolated severe thunderstorm or two. As we get closer to the Arkansas area, this is where we've seen a few more severe thunderstorms earlier today. We're starting to see around parts of Tennessee some strong thunderstorms as well. Now, it's not very widespread, not very intense, but we could still see some lightning with some of these thunderstorms. Let's actually zoom back in here around western and middle Tennessee. Over the last 10 minutes, we've seen quite a bit of lightning, over 500 strikes, a little bit quieter than just about within the last half hour or so, but still could see the potential for some flash flooding within this area as well. Let's take a zoom way out to the west here across the high plains where we've got numerous severe thunderstorm warnings. We've been tracking this hour as well. We'll start on the south end in parts of New Mexico where we have the severe thunderstorm warning out here. Also near the Hermit's Peak fire where we could see some flash flooding. Of course, we've got that flash flood warning there behind it. Moving up north a little bit into Otero County and Las Animas County there in Colorado, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning. I'll get you those details now from the National Weather Service. Could see up to 1.5 inch diameter hail and maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds. Around Pueblo County, very near the town of Pueblo, we could see some very large hail crossing the I-25 corridor, 2.5 inches in diameter. That can cause some considerable damage from those thunderstorms. Fortunately, this is south of the town itself of Pueblo, but we could still see some impacts along the I-25 corridor. This is just coming off the Front Range there. Off to the north around the El Paso County area, this is near Colorado Springs, and into Lincoln County, a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings here as well. We could see up to 1.5 inches of diameter hail out towards the Lincoln County area, but out towards El Paso County, this is for up to 2.5 inch diameter hail. Again, this is where we're seeing the potential for those storms getting very vigorous. And of course, we'll keep covering these storms that are here in parts of Nebraska as well. Hooker County, Nebraska, we're looking at the potential for some large hail and damaging winds for you all as well. Could see up to 60-mile-per-hour winds, and it looks like it's been downgraded a bit only to penny-sized hail.